I'd like to call the Town Council Public Forum of Monday, July 8th to order. It's 6:45. We have two speakers. First speaker, Mitzi Antezo. Please come forward, Mitzi, and give your address and keep it under 5 minutes, please. Thank you.
Do you have a quorum?
I'm sorry?
Do you have a quorum?
We don't need one for the...
Oh, you don't?
No, but we do. Anyway.
So nobody
1, 2,
listens, huh?
3, 4,
Okay.
5. As long as I'm here, Mitzi, we're
Wait a
okay,
minute,
or
wait,
one
wait,
of us.
Wait, I have to take out my papers. Can I just rest that there for a minute? Mitzi Antezo, 367 Windsor Avenue. When I was on the council, I was a member of the Tax Partnership Screening Committee, and I have a question about that item tonight. It's 4.3.1, and I was hoping that more members would be here because I have a question about one thing. The Erstad-Biddle company is going to put a storage unit in there. Fine. And I believe they've got $10 million. Where did I see? They had a $10 million project, I believe, which enabled them to have 3 years of zero taxes. And everybody here should know, and I wish the other people were here, that and I'm not begrudging new businesses because we're looking for business, but every penny they don't pay, you and I pay, because somebody's got to pay the bill. Okay, my big question is this. I can understand giving a tax break to the storage unit, but what I don't understand is how Chipotle manages to get included in that. Because if Chipotle were separate, it would be taxed. But since they joined it together with the storage units, it won't be taxed. That's my main concern, and I wish tonight, perhaps, and there are not enough people here even to object to it, but it should be looked into, and I would seriously consider waiting on activity with this, simply because of the Chipotle thing. Chipotle should not be in there any more than the coffee place, which was removed. And I'm sure they had good reasons to say they don't want it in. They wanted it in there, but the basic problem is because Chipotle is included, there are no taxes for 3 years, and then as you look at the list, they have lower and lower taxes. Shouldn't be. You and I pay taxes every year, and Chipotle should be paying it too. Thank you.
Thank you, Mitzi. The next speaker is Mike Sinnott. Mike, please come forward and state where you live. Thank you. Keep it under 5 minutes.
Oh, I can do that. My name is Mike Sinnott. I live at 68 Frash Street. I also own the property at 154 Meadowview Avenue. Now, I was going to wax eloquently here tonight and talk about a lot of things, but quite frankly, I'm just too tired, so I'm not going to. I'm going to get right to the point. The Stratford police have a relatively new policy now. When they respond to any kind of problem, they make it their point to snoop around inside people's houses looking for building code violations and health code violations. This is not their job. And needless to say, that creates all kinds of problems because then they go back, run back to the town officials and say, oh, there's this wrong and that wrong and all this other stuff wrong. My youngest son died May 1st. He killed himself. And Naturally, police had to come out and take his body away. On May 2nd, there was an inspector at my house. Want to know why my grass is too high? I want to know why I'm working on my truck and why there's a pile of garbage there I had there waiting for a truck to come pick it up. It was already scheduled. All right, that's a fine thing to deal with. You're dealing with the death of your son. And, now I have a town inspector there. Now, this habit they have of snooping around inside people's houses, this is not the first time this has happened. This happened in the 1770s. King George used to give his officers general warrants that allowed them to enter any American home, and they did. And that's one of the reasons this nation went to war in 1776. Look that up. I'm trying to read my own writing. Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, I called the police. There was a rumpus going on the street in front of my house at 154, and the police showed up. And then, cop had everyone standing here in the driveway while he went rummaging around in the house, looking again for building code violations and health code violations. If the people they arrested are out in the street, what's this cop doing in my boiler room and doing in people's bedrooms? I'd like to know that. That's called a warrantless search, and that's illegal. And just to add frosting on the cake, these cops' reports are quite fanciful sometimes. Sometimes they tend to cross the line into fiction. This most recently, this cop put in his report that I had liquid oozing out of my walls. Now, common sense will tell you there's nothing inside a wall that will ooze liquid. That just doesn't happen. There's no liquid inside a wall. Walls don't ooze liquid, unless it's the Amityville Horror House and it's oozing blood, but that's not what I have there. Now, the kid that died a while back tried to adopt a dog at the animal shelter, and he was denied because of the another cop did a report that said there were all these terrible conditions in the house. No truth to it whatsoever. And no one knows where these reports go. These cops write this report. It's passed off as truth. There's no appealing it. It's just, cop says it's true, so it's true. Like I got liquid oozing out of my walls. I'd like to know what this liquid could be. Maybe that kid would be dead, or would be dead. Maybe that kid would be alive now if he got that dog. I'm trying to read my own writing. Oh, yeah. Well, most recently, this last police report there with the rumpus outside the house and I'm snooping around, they sent a report to Brian Donovan, the building inspector, and he wanted to come out and inspect my house. I said, get lost. So he says, all right, I'm going to get an administrative search warrant, and he did. And he used that fictitious police report as probable cause to get the warrant. Now, a warrantless search is inadmissible. You cannot use a inadmissible evidence as probable cause to get a search warrant. Okay, he snooped around the house. He brought the health inspector with him. He brought, I don't know, I assume he's the fire inspector. I don't know who the other guy was. And later he came back, and he says to me, I want to come look around your house again. I said, forget it. You executed your warrant this morning. You don't get another shot at that. You execute it once. You don't do it again. He says, well, if you don't let me in, I'm going to turn off your electricity at 68 Frash Street. While he was calling to turn off the power, I was calling the cop to throw him out. So he turned off and I live at 68 Frash Street, like as I said. So, I'm trying to read my own writing here. Oh, he called and said there were dangerous conditions there. Now, this is a pretty good trick, since he's never set foot on that property. He's never seen anything there. He doesn't know what's in that property. He has no reason to believe there's any dangerous condition there. So what he did is what the law calls arbitrary and capricious, and that's what the lawsuit will read. Now, as a result of this now...
Mr. Sinnott, I appreciate all this, but let's start wrapping it up, okay?
All the food in my refrigerator has gone bad. I have no fans or air conditioning in the house. I have no lights. I have a fire hazard because I have to use candles and kerosene lamps. When it rains, there's no sump pump. That's going to do damage. And the house is uninhabitable in this heat. I had to move out of the house. That's called a constructive eviction, and that's a tortious act. So we have the property value. Now, living in the 19th century now, my property value has plummeted. I still have to pay 21st century taxes, though. We have the constructive eviction. So bottom line, if you don't turn the lights on real quick, I'm going to have to bring a lawsuit against the town of Stratford. The term respondeat superior applies, which is Latin. It means let the boss answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sent. No, you didn't, Linda, but I'm going to ask, sit for a second. Does anybody else want to speak? That was the last speaker sign up. Linda, please come forward. Please state your name and address.
Linda Palermo, 46 Fort Place, Stratford, Connecticut. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I looked down and I saw two names, and I just didn't give it any thought to sign in. I have a question with regard to the recent event that took place here in town, the Main Street event. I would like to know who gives these particular vendors permission to come into the town and sell their goods or do whatever it is they're going to do. Is there a requirement set forth by the town where people could look at these requirements to see if they're satisfactorily met to the public's desire? Do you know? Do these people have to sign up? Do they have to put what their qualifications are? What is it they're going to be doing in town? Do they properly show a product or goods and services to the public so that we will know that they're legitimate businesses? That's my question. Hopefully you could get an answer for me.
Linda, after you're done, one of the councilmen will meet with you. After you're done speaking, after we adjourn, one of the councilmen will meet with you.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, if there's no other speakers, I'm going to call at 6:57, I call the meeting to adjourn.